Hi, I'm Lee from louleigh.co.uk. I'm on Instagram as Instamatic Louleigh. I'm on Ravelry as louleigh, and if you happen to need something to put your knitting in, then you can find me on Etsy as Shop Louleigh. Welcome to my knitting podcast. I'm going to say this only once. The daylight here has gone for the year. No, it's not quite that bad, but having good daylight for the next 4 to 6 months is going to be intermittent. and if I waited round for a nice bright day to podcast, and I might not podcast until March. So I have cobbled together some lighting, and hopefully you can see me and you'll be with me for the next few months. But that's just how it is. Everybody's having the same problem, so I'm sure you understand. I've got some thank yous for some lovely people this week. Chrissy from Stitch Together is doing a wonderful giveaway of one of my bags. I think it's still running actually. She said 2 weeks or until she podcasts next, whichever was longest. So if you wanted to have a go at winning that, then you can pop over to her forum. She also does a wonderful podcast. I really enjoy it because she does really interesting things, and she spins wonderfully, but she won't show us her technique. Chrissy, we want to see. She uses a supported spindle, and I think she said she did it in an unusual way, so that would be really interesting because her yarn looks really lovely, and I think it's not a matter of whether your technique is kind of normal, but if you get good yarn then you're doing the right thing. So yes, go and check out Chrissy. It's a really great podcast. And then Vanessa from Curl to Craft, I sent her a bag because she was helping me out with some technical YouTube issues, and I think she might have had technical YouTube issues of her own as a result. So, but yeah, she gave me a lovely review, so that was really nice. And Vanessa knits the coolest things. I really like her podcast, and the colours and yarns that she uses, and the things that she makes as well. She's very cool. And the other thank you is to Jolie from Jolie's Kitchen. She has been doing a lot of really interesting things on Periscope, and I really enjoy her Friday trivia. I'm usually in the factory where I'm sat now, sewing bags, and so I like to tune into that, but I've learnt that I can't sew and comment or even read the comments, because that has resulted in an awful lot of unpicking. So what I tend to do now is just listen to the trivia and shout out the answers. But anyway, it wasn't last week, it was the week before. She usually does it just for fun, but we gave away one of my bags to the winner, so that was lots of fun. Yeah, and if you haven't gone over for Friday knitting trivia, then I strongly suggest you do. It was really, really good times. Good thing to do on a Friday afternoon when you're sort of winding down for the weekend, or trying to get a batch of bags out before the weekend. So yeah, that's great fun. Right, do you know what? I didn't say welcome to the factory. I'm so excited to chat to you that I've forgotten to say hello. Come on in, sit down. So there we go. Hello. Thank you for coming. It's lovely to see you. I'm really excited to talk to you. So this is the sock segment, and it's not much of a sock segment this week. I wanted to report back to you about my million socks, and I've talked about these previously. I do that thing where you make the camera refocus on previous podcasts, and if you want to know about the yarn and all the things that I did there, you can go over to my Ravelry page and have a look there. And I'll link it in the show notes. There you go, so there's an easy way to find it. But I had tried the sideways toe from Lara Neal's book Sock Architecture, and I wanted to report back to you on the fit of that. And I have to say, I really like it. The other toe that I've discovered that I really like from that book is the swirl toe. I think it's just a matter of, previously I had done the normal sort of, I don't know, I suppose I might call it a normal toe, but I might be the only one that's doing it. I had done a sort of what I consider a standard toe that has the decreases right at the edge here, and the two of them are usually just sort of like 1 or 2 stitches apart. So really it's not all that three-dimensional, and I think it's just a matter with the swirl toe and with this one, because the decreases are further apart, it just makes the toe more three-dimensional, and obviously my toes are three-dimensional, and so that just, I find it fits quite nicely. There was something else I was going to say. I noticed that a lot of people are doing the star toe, and I don't know if it's just that my toes are super tapered, but because that has more decreases around the toe than the swirl toe. The swirl toe only has only has 4 decreases, and yeah, I don't know if my foot is just super tapered or something like that, but I find the star toe just a little bit too short. Yeah, so if you were thinking of having a go at the sideways toe, then I would say yes, go for it. So there endeth my toe review. The other thing I thought I would show you this week, I'll put this down here so I don't get entangled with all my bits, is one of my absolutely favourite pair of socks. And I have in mind that I finished these a long time ago, but I've just looked back at Ravelry and I see it was only 2012. These socks are made of Malabrigo sock, which is 100% merino. I'm not going to tell you the colourway because they're so faded that if you bought the yarn new, it wouldn't look anything like this kind of, it looks a bit denim on the screen there. It wouldn't look anything like that. Right, so I finished them in 2012. They were toe up because back then that's how I thought you made socks, and they were on 2mm needles because back then I thought that you knitted socks on 2mm needles, and I do like tightly knitted socks. They're super warm and very robust, and they pretty much stand up by themselves. I tend to have quite cold feet, so you know, I like a very dense sock. But I just thought that that's what everybody was doing. No idea. It seems standard that you do them on sort of like 2.5mm needles. But anyway, so that's what I did. I think I was sort of following Wendy Johnson's toe-up sock recipe, which is why I, you know, it just sort of says, you know, use the needles that you want and check your gauge and, you know, make it fit. And because I just made socks that way, I didn't realise that not everybody was knitting their socks super tight. Anyway, I knitted these in 2012. I've said that about 3 times now, so I keep losing my train of thought. It's just left the station. They're 100% merino, and so they're so soft. Oh, and I really like my 100% pure wool socks because I feel like when I take them off in the evening, my feet are so much fresher, and during the day they just feel so much nicer in my shoes. I think there's something about, I mean, I love Opal and, you know, those Regia and those ones with the nylon in. I'm not convinced that they wear any better, and once you get used to wearing pure wool socks, it's a little bit like having plastic bags on your feet. having said that, I really like those yarns. I like knitting with them. I like the feel of them in the hand, and they're fun to wear. So I would never spurn them completely, but I am a fan of 100% wool socks. These ones, I mean, I don't treat them special or anything. They go to the allotment, and you know, and I think they're wearing okay for a pair of 3-year-old socks that get worn pretty heavily in the winter. And as I say, they're favourite socks. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say about that, but I've forgotten what it was. Might come back to me later. But anyway, so those are my favourite socks of all time. There you go. I'll put those down now. What was I going to say next? Now, let me put those... Oh, I was putting things down here, that's right. Right. So, the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was the spinning that I've been doing. I really felt like just throwing something on the wheel and having a bit of fun. And ages and ages ago I got a sort of like a wild bat that has lots of different things in it. And then I got one of JC Boggs's book about how to spin art yarn. And I had grand plans about doing something fancy and learning some new techniques. And the other day I was rifling around in my spinning bin because I just wanted to have some fun. So I just decided to spin it up, whichever one. And so I didn't have a big enough bobbin to fit it all on. Actually, that just looks like a massive blob of fibre. I may not have spun this at all. I might just be lying. But it's got everything in there. I hope that's focused. Put it up there so you can see. Hopefully you can see that it is spun. Maybe I should take it out of the hank. Look, I'm just thinking out loud now. You might be able to see that a bit better. Find a pretty bit. Right, just bump my microphone. If you hear a loud crashing, it's just me and my fibre. Well, not fibre, yarn. So, yes, I think the label said that this had merino and spangle and something else in it, and silk in it, and you can definitely see the bits with the silk. It wasn't heavily blended, so some bits kind of came off by themselves, but that was a tremendous amount of fun. I usually try to spin at least a little bit intentionally to get a specific, not necessarily, I'll let the fibre kind of help me decide what it wants to do, but I've usually got a little bit of an end goal. I'll know if I want to make a 3-ply. I haven't done much woolen spinning, it's mainly a short forward draw. Yeah, so this was just really fun just to throw onto the wheel. I use my Major Craft gem, and I wouldn't say, as far as sort of like novelty art yarns, it's not a good yarn. You know, there's not a lot of skill to it, and it probably isn't going to knit particularly, you know, be particularly knitter friendly. But I'm quite excited to actually knit that up and try it out and just see what it's like, because I may be making a judgment that's a bit wrong. Maybe I did a better job than I thought I did. Maybe I did a much worse job than I thought I did. So I'm quite intrigued to do something with that and just see how it comes out. So if you have any suggestions, somebody has already suggested that I make a Mobius scarf, and that could be a Mobius cowl, and that could be rather fun. And I can use up all the yarn, but if you have any suggestions on what I could do with that, I would be really interested to hear them. So there you go. I'm not actually going to say where I got that bat, because as much as the stuff I got from that shop was really lovely, I had a really rotten customer service experience. So I don't want to really just sit here and say nasty things, because it was quite a while ago and maybe they've changed. So yeah. Right, so that's my novelty yarn. As I say, it was a little bit outside my comfort zone, but yeah, it was an experiment. So I'm excited to knit that up. I bet that was clear while I had that under my chin. Right, now in order to ply that, I had to clear off some of my bobbins. And about this time last year, I started spinning for my father outlaw's Christmas present and didn't finish in time. I still knitted him my outlaws are incredibly knitworthy. They know about woolly things and they appreciate them, which is just great. Actually, my in-laws are as well. I have the best sisters-in-law ever who will hand wash hand knitted things in pure wool, so that's really good. Dead fun for me because it gives me lots more options about what I can knit for nieces and nephews and things. But anyway, so I had intended to spin up this yarn and to make my father outlaw a pair of Urban Necessities, and they're the flip top mittens that you've seen here before, because he flies model aeroplanes, and so it's quite handy for him to be able to keep his hands warm and still be able to use his remote control. But I didn't get the yarn finished in time, so I bought some. So he still got his Urban Necessities, but then I had this yarn that I wasn't particularly motivated. I sort of lost the motivation to finish it. But then, of course, I needed an extra bobbin to ply my other yarn onto, so I had to clear it off. And having done that, I decided to ply this as well. And so this was some top that I got from John Arbin. I actually bought it from the man himself, which I hadn't realised at the time. I didn't realise till I heard his interview over on A Playful Day and realised that I hadn't just bought it off some minion, I had bought it off the man. And it is a Zwarblaze Exmoor cross. No, blend, not cross. Two different sheep blended together. So the Zwarblaze is a dark brown colour, and then the Exmoor is sort of whitey creamy colour. So that gives it this lovely grey. And I'm a bit bummed that I didn't finish this for the Father Outlaw's Christmas present, because I'm really pleased with the way that it's turned out. I did a 3-ply so that it would be a bit stronger, and I think it's turned out to be sort of like a sport to DK weight. So I would have had to fluff around with the sizes because that pattern's written for Aran weight. Excuse me, this is focusing on the wrong thing. There we go. Yeah, so yeah, it's written for, I think it's an Aran weight. Yes, I would have had to fluff about with the pattern, but I'm quite excited to knit this one up as well. I think I have a cunning plan for it. Might be a Christmas present for somebody else. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. It's a 3-ply, did I say that? And it was a short forward draw as well, which tends to be my default. It's just easy, nice, relaxing spinning. So there we go. Right, so that is the spinning section. I feel like I'm whisking through this today, nearly at the end of my list. So you would have seen my finishing glory at the beginning. Look, I've dropped things on the floor. Isn't that just typical? You're used to that with me by now. Oh, the microphone. I'm supposed to pretend it's not there, aren't I? I need sort of like a, what is it, a best boy that does the sound on the films and whatnot. Anyway, so I have finished my quill. And I made this, as I said last time, using Jameson and Smith Supreme Jumper Weight. And I'm really pleased with the way that's come out. I feel like that might be better, you might see it better on that side. I didn't do a gauge swatch or anything, and it's come out a little bit smaller than the pattern. Excuse me. Look, I'm bumping everything again. Over here, please. It's come out a little bit smaller than the pattern. What was I going to say about that? It's about 1 metre square, and I have blocked it quite vigorously because I wanted to open it up a lot, because the yarn is quite woolly and fills in all the gaps quite well, and I'm really pleased with that. I think it's come out really well. Yeah. But there was a little piece of me at the end when I had finished that was just a wee bit sad. I was like, oh, the holiday is really over now. And so I wanted to share a little bit of my Shetland experience with you. And so while I was in Shetland, of course, I got the Wool Week annual, which I think I showed you last time. And I also got my a Shetland Wool Week bag. And I have finished reading my annual, and I haven't used the bag. Actually, that's a lie. I think I brought my yarn home in it. But I haven't used the bag much. And I just wanted to pass it on to somebody else to share it around. So I thought I'd have a little competition. The magazine is not in pristine condition. I feel like a bit of a heel giving away a used thing, but I'm sort of like, books, that's the fun of books and magazines, is to pass them on to somebody else and to share that reading experience, isn't it? And so maybe if you enter my little competition and you win this, you might get the magazine and decide to share it with one of your chums when you've finished. It's got some lovely patterns in it and some really interesting articles. So what you have to do is to pop over to my Ravelry group, and I'll have a thread there for the competition, and you just need to write a little bit about an event that you went to, or maybe a workshop that you did, or a book that you read that you found really inspiring and maybe inspired you to try something new, a new project, and just say a little bit about that, because I think it's fun to share those experiences, because often they're things that other people might like to do as well. And I would be really interested too, if you want to. You don't have to, you can just write a little blurb about something that really inspired you. If you did a project as a result, or if you did a project in the workshop, I would love to see that as well. It would be super interesting. I'm going to draw this randomly, and I had meant to determine what date I was going to draw it on before I sat down to do the podcast. But in the interest of transparency, I shall write that date in the forum, so you'll know that it's going to close. It'll be about 2 weeks' time that I'll draw it and send these lovely Shetland things. So if you didn't get to go to Shetland, you can have a little bit of a Shetland experience at home with your cup of coffee and a nice bag to put all your bits and pieces in. So yes, that's me for the day. It's very foggy outside, which is why we've got no light. Most of the UK has been shrouded in mist. Which, as long as I don't have to drive in it, I really enjoy. It's so atmospheric. You feel like there's stories hidden away out there, and the headless horseman might come out of the mist galloping towards you and all this sort of thing. I really love the atmosphere of foggy days, provided I don't have to drive in it. So there you go, there's the provision. And Barney and Bobby are sat on the couch over there, and Barney is snoring away, so you might have heard him. That was what that rumbling noise was in the background. Anyway, that was me for the day. Thank you so much for popping along. I hope you enjoyed yourself. It was lovely to chat to you again. If you're new here, I'd love to hear from you in the group. Please come and introduce yourself. That would be really fun. And at the end of this, I'm going to put some just little teaser photographs of the Christmas bags that I'll be making over the next couple of weeks. I haven't made them up already, so it's just going to be the fabrics, and yeah, you can stay and have a look at those, or you can just stop now and toddle off and do something else. I'm sure you've got lots of things planned for your day. So it's been lovely to chat to you, and I shall see you next time. Cheerio!